Hey, this is Stephanie O'Brien, founder of Coach Client Connection. Today, I want to talk about something that we've all probably run into at some point. Have you ever had a time, whether it's with your clients, your referral partners, or your family, you just can't seem to get past this friction? Everybody has the best of intentions. Nobody's trying to pick a fight, but your approaches, your communication styles, your priorities are just so different that you keep on running into friction that wastes your time, your emotional energy, and maybe even damages your relationship instead of everything just running smoothly at full speed. So today I'm bringing in a special guest, Janice Debo, and she's going to talk about a method that can really help you get past that friction so everybody can, get along better and reach their full potential because you're working with your strengths and personalities instead of against them. So you can achieve a lot more and enjoy a lot more peace and ease with a fraction of the effort. So thank you very much for joining us, Janice.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited we finally got this sorted out.
Yeah, I'm happy about it too. And could you tell us a bit about it? This method you have the path elements.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. The path elements is you, where you take an assessment that shows you your elemental makeup. Now, there are four main elements: wind, water, earth, and fire. That assessment will give you what your primary element and secondary elements are, but also the third and the fourth. Now, in that, when you find out, like to give you an example, I am water. My primary one is water, and it's really high in my case, and then wind right behind it. Well, water elements, if you think about the actual uh, characteristics of water in the earth, it flows, it can freeze, it can boil, it can steam, it flows in a river, it's in the waves in the ocean. You think about whatever characteristics water has, and somebody with a water element as their primary will represent a lot of that elemental makeup. And and yes, if you put wind right behind it, like my wind is pretty high too, it can be a hurricane. So I joke about that. But water and wind are the relational elements. So I am very highly relational because I've got those two elements. The earth and fire, however, are results oriented. With that, you've got the earth. And if you think about somebody that's a CPA, a bookkeeper, somebody that's in tech, maybe that they just want to sit behind the screen, don't put them in sales. Oh, that's bad news. They are going to be happier behind a desk, not interacting with a lot of people. Fires, on the other hand, now, if you think about the characteristics of fire, hot, it can it can just take over and destroy everything in its path. And when somebody knows what their elements are, they can understand how they act and react and communicate. That gives them the advantage. And also, when I work with teams, then the teams can understand their teammates. Like, oh, you're a fire. That's why you roll over me all the time. Or you're the earth. That's why you move so slow. But it's not disrespectful. It's just understanding how someone else communicates. It helps to build trust as well. Once you understand your elemental makeup, like I said, that's my favorite part of working with people and see them going, oh, that's what happened.
And I imagine it really helps to people to not take things personally or not feel the need to correct other people when they understand, yeah, this is why this is happening. This is how it happens, and this is how our different personality types. I imagine you help people with different personality types to figure out communication and collaboration methods that work for both of them, right?
Hmm. Absolutely. It's in one training I did, I had 10 folks that were on a leadership team. Six of those, Stephanie, were fires.
Oh
And
boy.
two of them were what we call a double fire, because when you've got, let's say if my water was really high, but nothing else really close, then I could be a double water. If your primary element is way higher than everything else, and I had two or three that were double fires. And boy, that was fun. But I got them laughing and carrying on and picking on each other, but understanding each other and understanding, okay, this is why we've had problems. Their communication improved in 2 days, and their trust factor went way up too.
Oh, that's pretty quick results. And
Mhm.
it's like that. And because they understand each other, like these results tend to really stick long term and keep on evolving and improving long term.
Absolutely. I received a review about that training several months later, and she said, "Wow, it's really stuck, and it's helped us long term." Even even the owner of the business was a high flyer, and he was in the group. When he walked me to the car to help, he helped me get all my stuff together, walk out, and I said, "Well, what do you think?" He goes, "I really liked it, and thank you for calling me out on my stuff." So, so
It's
I,
always
you
good. Oh, go
know,
ahead.
no, I'm not afraid to call somebody out. I just want people to get the results that they're looking for. And so I don't step on toes, but if I do it lovingly.
Yeah, and it's always right when the leadership is willing to be called out. Yes, few things worse to deal with in a team than a leader who thinks they're already perfect.
Oh no. Well, if you're there in the room with the other team members, you're going to find out real quick you're not.
Yeah, I bet. So, how did you get into this?
9 years ago, I started coaching, and I kind of fell into that by I was meeting with a gentleman that I was trying to sell him on what I was doing at the time. But he had seen me in action connecting people. He had seen me teaching people, training people just by nature. And uh, and so in that discussion, he said, "Why don't you get paid for what you really do?" And I didn't know what he was talking about. He explained to me that exactly what I was doing was coaching. I'd never heard of a coach. I was blind. I had no idea what he was talking about. So he did a short video and set up a website, gave me a little training and said, "Now go get a guinea pig. Don't charge your first client." And so that's how I got into coaching. I started out as a networking coach, but I have since moved into personal development training and coaching. And several years ago or several years after, I think it's been like 8 years ago now, I believe. I took the Path Elements assessment when I was invited to take part in the training by one of my clients. And I went in, I'd never heard of it, but I sat through the training, had the assessment, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. But even then, until 2 years ago, it came back to me. I know the president of the company, she and I are in a writers group together, and so we were talking about that, and she goes, "Well, why don't you consider our becoming a licensed facilitator?" And that was so exciting. And Stephanie, I took the assessment again 6 years after I'd taken it the first time. It was almost identical, almost identical.
Yeah, because it was working well pretty early on, and I feel like that's a good point for people who are worried about sharing their wisdom, and they're burning themselves out trying to say so many different things. Like you heard this thing 6 years ago, and then 6 years later you heard it again and ended up buying. So yeah, for the people who are afraid to put themselves out there because they're, oh, what if it's been said before? What if I've said it before? Well, sometimes people need to hear something more than once.
Oh, absolutely. And it's good to learn from people, and I don't do it, and I don't train or coach like anybody else. I'm very unique in my style, and utilizing the elements gives me an even higher factor of being very unique.
So, what would you say are the biggest differences between your style and the other styles you've seen?
Other coaches, now I don't want to put everybody in a box because none of us are the same. I I have seen a lot of coaches, and I work with some. They'll just send you a video and then give you a questionnaire, and then you meet again. But for me, it means hands-on, very involved. I do have programs, but I customize everything I do based on what the client needs. And not that other coaches don't do that, but my program is called the Grounded Accountability Path. One thing I am known for in reviews all over is my technique with accountability, that I hold people accountable with compassion. I'm there to help them. And most of my clients have said, she really cares. And that's true. I really do, because I've been on the bottom. I've been up and down, up and down. So I know what it feels like to be struggling and dealing with problems and how to get traction. I work with people on a very personal level. And if I don't like to answer the phone late at night, but if they text me, I'll say, okay, well, let's talk in the morning. I give them all I can to help them get over the hurdles and the speed bumps and the problems, and I like to say, see the forest for the trees.
Yeah, I actually made just a couple social media posts about that, like just earlier this week, talking about how you can't just throw info at them and tell them do the work or you won't get results. Because sometimes people have obstacles. Sometimes they didn't fully understand the info you gave them. Sometimes they were so overloaded that they just didn't find or make time to do it. Sometimes they were afraid to fail. There are so many reasons why people don't do the work. So, like, and honestly, I think just throwing the info at them and not really helping them through it, that's more training than coaching. If you want to call yourself a coach, you really do need to like give them that personalized element and that implementation support. Implementation support, as I think, is one of the biggest differentiators between people who have a lot of great info and not many satisfied clients and people who actually do transform lives. People are drowning in info. What they really need is someone to actually help them use it.
You're right. You're right. Another thing, I don't know why my nose is itching, excuse me. So anyway, I'm not a life coach per se. However, one thing I learned through all these years in my life, in business and in coaching is that if you've got a personal problem or something going on in your personal life, it's going to affect your business.
Mhm.
If you've got problems in your business, it's going to affect your personal life. And I don't pull those apart. I work with the whole person. I work with them at the level that they need me to. And I was really proud of a client this week, not to name this person. However, her personal problems were pretty severe and they're still there. But I gave her steps to start managing those and helping her make the connections to manage those. And then this week I got a big report back that she hit the 3 or 4 major problems head on. And I said, so I know, and she was in the pool when I was coaching her. I'm like, okay, well, I don't blame you. It's time to celebrate. And and I love those stories where, okay, this is all you get. And it took us a month for me to help her to see you've got to take the steps. You can't just sit down. And I had a very tough coach tell me the same thing when I was wallowing in self-pity with a difficult problem. And I had 2 coaches tell me that in different times. But yeah, telling people the truth, telling them lovingly, and helping them see your business life is affecting your personal life or vice versa. You cannot separate them. And you know that as a coach.
Yeah, I held hired a relationship coach once, and my business improved significantly because of that. Because of course, the same relationship skills you use for your interpersonal, like non-business relationships, they tie into business.
Oh, absolutely. Relationships are relationships. And you know what? I was in sales and marketing for Canon. You know who Canon is. And I was doing okay, but I walked in a bookstore one day and picked up a book that's out of print now. You have to get a used one on Amazon called Relationship Selling. And when I picked that book up and read it, took it home and read it and did follow it because I'm very relational, that book related to me. It was in sync. It was very aligned. But I started utilizing those purposes. My income quadrupled um, that year. So it really made a huge difference understanding myself at that level and then being more relational with people. I beat some of the top people that were selling against me. They were more concerned about the money and more concerned about making the
Mm.
sale. Whereas I come in, I'm more concerned about the person.
Honestly, it is amazing how many people I've seen absolutely shoot themselves in the foot by underestimating the importance of relationships. Like, I've had so many people, their profiles are polished, their content is awesome. They send me a friend request, I accept. I send them a message to like, hey, thanks for connecting. How's your week going? Or hey, thanks for connecting. And what inspired you to connect with me? Crickets. Well, congratulations. Literally everything else you just did was completely wasted because now that you've got the lead, you've completely dropped the ball. Like
Hmm.
they've built the first third of a bridge, and then the people they're trying to guide across the bridge get across this first third of the bridge, and there's nowhere else to go because when they get to the stage where you actually have to build a relationship, the bridge is gone.
I have had things like that happen. I've also had it happen where I give someone a referral, a lead, and say, okay, so I've told so and so one you're going to be in touch with them. So please do it as soon as you can. And nothing. Crickets, as you said.
Mm.
Like, okay, this is a real potential. And then I don't like being ghosted anybody any more than anybody else. However, when I'm trying to help somebody, I do have a level of expectation that if you want to improve your business and I'm here helping, why aren't you responding? So
Right?
I don't get it. I really, really don't. On social media is the worst, like you said. You get their friend request. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Silence.
Like no matter how big you grow your numbers, those numbers ain't going to matter if the number of people you're actually successfully selling to is zero.
Right. Right. And I mean, and I get people, there's a lot of scammers and hackers out there, so I understand. But those of us like you and myself, we have a solid reputation. And people can see from our profiles and whatever part you're looking at that we're solid. We're very solid. And we don't have fake reviews, we don't have fake customers, clients, etc. But yeah, I totally don't understand. And I'll even I give people the benefit of the doubt and I'll reach back out. And I had somebody ask me about coaching a couple weeks ago and a couple of times back and forth and haven't heard another word. I don't know. I'm one that responds. I'm
Yeah.
very responsive.
Yeah, I respond to most of them. Like if I get a cold sales pitch, I think that I won't dignify. But if somebody seems to be like genuinely trying to create a relationship, then I'll connect. But what really weirds me out is they're the ones sending me the friend request. They've already indicated that they're interested, so why only take the first step? That's what weirds me out.
Yeah, I get it. I know. And I think we could do a training on the etiquette of communication or something like that because it's a real need. And typos are another thing that I get in my craw too, crazy words, and that word is not in the dictionary kind of thing. Yep, it's crazy because we're in a different time now when people are communicating I don't know, differently. But I have thought about doing a communications training and touching on all these difficult points.
One could only hope that the people who actually need it can pay attention long enough to get it. But
Boy, that
it's kind of straight off of your path elements, and I'd love to circle back to that. One thing I wanted to ask was, how does it compare to other personality tests like, DISC, Myers-Briggs?
Well, I've taken a few. I've probably taken another three or four. I don't think I've taken those. I don't think so. But if you think about it, what's easier to remember? I don't even know the codes for the others, but the ones I have taken, I can't tell you what I was, how I related or came out. But I can tell you I'm water and I'm wind. If you think about it, it's so much simpler to remember, even though the others are probably very accurate. People don't remember. They're going, disc. Okay, what was I? But if you say, oh, I'm fire, I'm fire. And that's why I blaze a trail.
Yeah, basically just more intuitive, more memorable.
Very much so. Much easier to remember your earth elements, whatever your element is. It is a lot simpler. And relating to it, I had a client. I said, okay, I want you to come back. I forget what their major element was. I said, I want you to come back and give me a list of the characteristics of the element in the earth, and then we'll talk from there, that point, and see how much you relate to it.
Yeah, I can definitely see the benefit that way. And so what are some of the other like transformations you've seen from using this? You touched on one. I'd love to hear about some more.
Yes, I had a client for a while that's in medical billing, and that's not an easy thing. And as it turned out, her whole family got involved in the business. Well, she took it, and then I said, "Well, your daughter needs to take the assessment too." As it turned out, they were almost identical. I mean, I'm like, no wonder you guys are having trouble communicating. And then her husband, and then her son. I'm like, okay, let's just knock it out and have the whole family take the assessments. So it helped them to see how best to communicate with each other because not only are you working together, but you're living together in your family. That that doubles the potential issues of problems. And in doing so, they saw the clarity in how they could best communicate with each other because she and her husband were totally, totally different. But she and her daughter were I mean, almost perfect identical. So it was fun training the two of them. And I had that issue with not that issue, but I had that situation with a nonprofit I trained. The executive director and her new executive assistant director came in, and their profiles were almost identical too, their elemental makeup. And so it was 8 hours of fun saying, okay, now you gals are going to have to respect, because somebody's got to make a decision or you're going to be deadlocked, you know. So it really did help them. She did a testimonial for me recently talking about the difference it made in their ability to communicate and understand each other, even though they're very much alike, but they can communicate better, and they built trust through that.
And I think that's an important point that even when people are similar, it can still cause issues. So it sounds like this works best when the whole group takes it, right?
It does. It really does. And I'm going to be working with a gentleman soon, and I'm going to recommend it for his whole team. He wants it. He wants the assessment. And so I'm going to recommend that we look at his whole team to work with them so I recommend it to everybody that's got even just two people. It can help them. It can help them. It's a tool that helps people respect each other too, not just trust and communicate better, but really respect each other. Even if they're almost identical, they can understand, oh, that's why we're getting, butting heads a lot, that kind of thing.
Reminds me of a therapist I once knew. Like she started refusing to work just with kids because parents kept on bringing her for their kids. I'll fix my kid. Well, it's the whole family environment that's messing up the kid. So no matter how much I do with the kid, if I don't fix the whole family environment, the kid will keep getting messed up. Let's fix the whole family environment, the whole team.
Oh, exactly, exactly. Because then you've got a basis for understanding and a basis for um, that compassion comes back into play. And the hardest ones, I say, and I've worked with the tough ones, like I said, that group of 10 with 6 fires, they were a tough crowd. They really, really were. But I make it fun. I make it interesting. There's some exercises, you can call them games, where with that team in particular, we were in a nice big facility. And so I sent all the fires into one corner. I think there was only one earth, so that poor person was by themselves. But but the others, I think I had three waters, whatever they were. I divided them up, and then I said, you got to come back and convince me, just playing the game, that why your element is better, which is just having them and then turning the tables and saying, now we need all the elements. Can you survive without water? No. The wind is necessary. The earth, you walk on it. Yeah, I think we need the earth. Fire does serve a purpose. It keeps us warm, and it can also clear out bushes and places where we need to have clearance. Fire has a really big purpose too, and helping people see that all the elements are necessary, not one is better than the other, is a big advantage of having the whole team participate.
It makes total sense. So we're getting close to the end of our time. I wanted to make sure I asked them. You mentioned that you do volunteer work, and yeah, I'd love to touch on that. So, what kind of volunteer work are you doing?
Well, I am chairwoman of the outreach committee for confronting domestic violence. And that's I was recently appointed to handle that because I do a podcast. And of course, we're recording you in a few days on courage, confidence, and connections, as well as my book, which is called Courage, Confidence, and Connections. So my passion is to help people have courage and confidence and make connections. That's the whole premise of what I do, even with the coaching. It all has that underlying theme. So when the nonprofit came along, and I myself have survived domestic violence, and she and I talked, she goes, would you consider being a board member? Because I have compassion for people who are coming out of that situation or need to get out. But also, I have a lot of connections to help build the organization and build the awareness of that need. So everything I do really has the same underlying theme.
Yeah, and I know that connection is especially important for violence survivors in that abusers so often isolate their victims, so that restoring that connection sounds like a really important step for them.
It is. It's huge. And none of us are an island, as the old song said. You know, we all connected and we need each other. So yeah, and coming out of those situations, you need support, you need help, and protection a lot of times to feel
Mhm.
safe.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for coming here and sharing all this. I really appreciate your time and your expertise.
Oh, thank you. This has been great. I love your approach and your
Thank you.
questions. Yeah, I really do. I appreciate you really digging into the path elements with me because I want to make that available to as many people as possible.
So if somebody is interested in pursuing it, what's the best way that you've made it available to them? What's their next step?
You can reach out to me on janicedebo.com and you can send me an email through there, or you can just email me at janicedebocoaching@gmail.com. And the phone number's on the website. I'm all over social media and my Google profile. It's just Janice Debo on Google, and you can find all my contact information. Reach out and let me know how I can help. There's also a free ebook on my website.
Awesome. And for those of you watching, this is all going to be in the show notes. So if you didn't manage to write it down in time, the link will be right there in the show notes, whether it's on the blog post, in the YouTube video description, wherever you're watching this, it'll be in the notes with it. And if somebody is going through domestic violence, what's the best step for them to reach out to you for help with that?
Uh, Look up confrontingdomesticviolence.org. And there are a lot of resources available on our website as well as in general. But we do have a lot of available resources in your area. So, and if you can't find it, if you can't manage to locate it, you can reach out to me directly and I'll connect you with the people that can help you get what you need.
And that too will be in the show notes. So I'll make it easy for people to find it. So, and thank you so much for everything that you do and for sharing it with us today.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm so glad we got together on this. I do appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. So, any final thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
I want to just thank our audience for tuning in, listening, and let me know how I can be of assistance, and stay courageous. And by the way, one final word. If you say it, you don't have courage, you never think you do in the middle of a situation. You'll see it when you look back.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you all have an amazing day.
Thank you.